Yemen. The Stephen O'Brien, the emergency relief coordinator, said today in a statement that we are issuing right now, and I quote, "I am even more deeply concerned by the catastrophic humanitarian situation in Yemen. Millions of women, children, and men are facing terrifying violence, extreme hunger, and little medical assistance in the fighting, shelling, and bombing by all parties that show no sign of abating." Mr. O'Brien said he is extremely disappointed that the humanitarian pause did not take hold over the weekend. He called again on all parties to the conflict to agree to an immediate and unconditional humanitarian pause across Yemen. Mr. O'Brien urges the parties to abide by their obligations under international law to protect civilians and facilitate rapid, safe, and predictable access for humanitarian organizations to reach all people who need assistance, wherever they are in Yemen. Despite the continued fighting, the UN's humanitarian colleagues and their partners on the ground have been able to distribute some vital aid for the families in desperate need. However, it is not nearly enough, and we need access and funds to rapidly scale up critical humanitarian supplies and services, said the emergency relief coordinator. Mr. O'Brien ended his statement by saying, quote, "A political solution to this conflict is what the people of Yemen need, and I hope that the international community will do all it can for the Yemeni families who are counting on this." As you know, the hostilities in Aden have escalated dramatically recently. The humanitarian situation in that city is of great concern, with the water supply in the Kormaskar neighborhood badly damaged and hospitals across the city receiving casualties. Many houses have also been damaged and residents need emergency shelter. The World Food Program has been able to enter the city with food for over 100,000 displaced people, but is struggling to reach people in need due to the current insecurity. A statement issued today by the humanitarian community in Yemen, including the UN, said that Yemenis continue to suffer immensely as violence escalates unabated. This week has been one of the deadliest, has seen some of the deadliest days since the conflict escalated in March. Although more than 4.4 million people have received humanitarian aid since March 21st, 21 million people require humanitarian assistance, a staggering 80% of the Yemeni population. To scale up the humanitarian community urgently requires funding. Yemen's humanitarian appeal has received only 15% of the requested $1.6 billion. And that's the money that we just need only till the end of 2015. And the statements from Mr. O'Brien and the humanitarian community in Yemen are both available.
In the past 24 hours or 48 hours, there have been intensive bombardment to the area, by aerial bombardment. To what extent did that aerial bombardment contribute to the severing of the water supplies from the area? Also, there were reports that some United Arab Emirates intelligence officers were seized by the Yemeni army. And many of the vehicles which landed in Aden turned out to be United Arab Emirates, and they were brandishing Al-Qaeda flags of all. How
I haven't seen those reports regarding Al Qaeda. I think as we've said in the past, and even if you look at the statement that Mr. Leon made on Libya, any countries that suffers from the kind of violent strife that we're seeing creates the conditions that are ripe for extremist groups to grow. This, I think, should only underscore the urgent need for a political solution to what is going on in Yemen. As to what type of ordinance was responsible for the water destruction of the water facilities, I'm not able to say from this podium, but it's clear that the fighting, the shelling, the aerial bombardment that we have seen, that we continue to see, is causing great damage to the infrastructure in Yemen and obviously to the people of Yemen.